Good morning, zombies and monsters and cool cats and customs and beatniks. We're back on the 40 Merc.
A V8 motor, baby, smarter design, black convertible top, and the girls don't mind. Sporting with me, riding all around town.
There's a few things that I wanted to show you on hinge pins, on, of course, replacing more rust, and just a few things that might help you, hopefully, on your project, or you might find interesting just to watch me sweat it out. At any rate, here we are with a new episode. On these hinges, I had to drill the pin out of the door, and then I was able to drill it through the door side, which has, let me show you, just these two little sides which were totally seized in. So I drilled from the top, drilled from the bottom, and broke the center section out there with a little bit of and then this side I was able to just knock the pin out of this side. It took a little searching, but I found some oversized pins. So these are like 27, I think it's tenths or hundredths, and then the new ones are like 36 or something. Anyways, you can get a bigger drill bit, drill it out so you have a nice new bore for the pin to ride in. So if it did get oblonged, or I did mess it up when drilling the top and bottom, the new drilled hole will, line up and put that new pin in. I'd like to restore this hinge a little bit. As you can see, it's seen better days. The reason I needed to get that door off is to finish welding this edge. I made a new skin for the outside of this front piece here. I layered this one on top of the old piece because it lined up with the door better. It just smoothed out to the door better up here. Down here, I actually put it tucked into the piece, so I'm welding a little bit more on the outside here, where on this side I'm welding on the inside. At any rate, it all makes for a nice new clean door gap. So I'm making the new piece for our hinge. A few things I want to point out. When you're needing to drill holes in a smaller piece, don't cut the piece out and then drill the holes. Drill the holes before the piece is cut out, because then it's a lot easier to hold while you're using the drill press or a hand drill or whatever. And then when you're welding nuts on, make sure you have the bolt through it, or the nut tends to warp and then they don't screw in correctly. So I'll weld these nuts on the back before I cut the piece out again, because it's just a little easier to handle this larger piece. And then I'll undo the bolts, cut it out, and weld it in. Okay, we got our piece made. What we're making sure of is that it lines up with that old edge, and same with our outside edge. You don't want this thing to be in, out, twisted or anything. Made sure that it was at the same angle here on our piece, and everything was looking good. So it's ready to weld in. I went in really hot and got kind of on the inside. There's a piece inside there. I was able to get that welded to that, and then went with a lighter setting to get the sheet metal back on that outside. Did the heavier weld when I was welding to the 1/8 inch structure in there. But after a little cleanup, that'll be just right. And then we'll be able to bolt our hinge right back on here. That's our jam here all welded in. And our little mounty mount for the hinge. I need to make this little piece here now. And then this jam will be done. So I got the pieces in here. I'm waiting for a little grinder disc coming in from Ideal to finish that up, but it's all capped, finished off. Just needs a little bit of cleaning up. But we're gonna change our attention to this disaster, which is just a giant hole into the car. And around that is all crusty, and on the inside is crusty. You can see we have to do the rear part. That's the rail I put in here. Same rail that goes to the front, but there's a couple different boxes here I've said before that were just rotted out. So I just did a new 2x3 box tube. It's 16 gauge, and that ties all of this back together. But what I need to do first is start to get this piece made and this little 90 and double 90 here. You can see this came from in here, around here, came in here, and then came up to here. This other piece, you can kind of see the lip there, comes off the quarter, and that's actually part of the quarter. That's part of the door jamb. So I'm going to replace a lot of this in here. I'm going to replace some of this down here, and then through here, and then we'll get to our skin on the outside.
A V8 motor, baby, smart and designed, black convertible top, and the girls don't mind. Sporting with me, riding all right.